back to number 2. PlayStation hit with more layoffs following recent game cancellations. Ethan Gotcha, Kotaku. The PlayStation-owned studio Visual Arts was hit with fresh layoffs this week amid a further restructuring of Sony's U.S. game development operations. While some of the cuts included staff who had contributed to recently canceled projects like an upcoming live service game at Bend Studio, a source told Kotaku the layoffs were more widespread than that. Earlier this week, an unknown number of staff at Visual Arts Group based out of San Diego were informed that their last day at work would be March 7th. The team provides internal art and technical support to first-party PlayStation studios and worked closely with Naughty Dog on the recent Last of Us Part 1 and 2 remasters, among other projects. Sony did not immediately respond to our request for comment. Quote, "It was tough waking up to messages that many friends and former co-workers from PSVA were laid off this morning," said former PSVA project manager Abby Lamaster, now at Riot Games, and they posted this on LinkedIn on Monday. Quote, "The layoffs today hit hard. PSVA let go of developers with decades of subject matter experience, talent that will be extraordinarily difficult to recoup. This industry can be unpredictable, but the skill, experience, and passion of the people I worked with at PSVA are undeniable," end quote. The layoffs come after an expensive failure in last year's Concord, new rounds of live service project cancellations, including a reported God of War spinoff at Bluepoint Games, and a reorganization within the top echelons of Sony leadership. In January, Hiroki Totoki became the company's new CEO, and Hideki Nishino became the sole CEO of PlayStation, with Herman Hulse, who had previously been co-CEO, reporting to him as the ongoing head of PlayStation Studios. If that wasn't enough, blessing Eddie Oye Jr. While I was hunting this Rathalos, you had breaking news. What's happening?
Yeah, this is one that was tweeted out, I think as the show was going live, from Noble via Insider Gaming. Ballistic Moon, which is the studio that did the Until Dawn remake, has reportedly shut down. According to Insider Gaming sources, only the founders remain, and possibly a handful of employees.
Damn.
Yeah. So 2 back-to-back place. I mean, Ballistic Moon isn't a PlayStation studio, but obviously they just did a PlayStation studio project.
Until Dawn, which wasn't like greatly received.
Yeah, but obviously with all these stories, our hearts go out to the developers,
of course.
And there are bullet points to talk about here, as far as like, you know, we've seen the story over and over again.
I was gonna say, we're rinse and repeating.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rinse and repeat, as far as like, oh man, the games industry is in such like a rough place right now. You know, a lot of studio shutting down, a lot of layoffs are happening. I think this is one that I think steps out a bit more in terms of visibility, because it is a PlayStation studio, right? And so you look at it and you're like, oof. Yeah, like it feels like we see this happen. Man, I want to say less from first parties, but that's not even true, because we've seen it happen for Xbox. We've seen the Bungie stories as well. So I don't know. It just sucks to see. Like every week, there's another story like this. Is there anything that sticks out to you?
What sticks out to me about this one isn't anything. I mean, we've talked about this, as you said. Hearts go out to everybody. This industry's crazy right now. It's insane the amount of people who've been laid off this year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's more piggybacking off of the conversation we were just having about Last of Us in a part 3, yes or no, where it is, we're like, well, if things got dire, and you come here and it's like, well, PlayStation's laying off people from inside the house.
Yes.
The call's coming from inside the house. So it is, at what point is there we need bangers? And I think what's interesting about, and I hate to make this layoff story about Naughty Dog, but trying to stitch them together, right, is I wonder if PlayStation looks at Naughty Dog and says, it doesn't matter if you, we don't need you to make Last of Us 3. You can make Intergalactic, because you are now a brand, right? That was my concern when they did Last of Us originally, part 1, when it was just The Last of Us, where it was like, oh, this will be an interesting case, because Uncharted's been gaining so much steam. You've been doing the sequels. Everyone's, getting more and more millions of units sold or whatever. Now you jump to this, will the audience understand? And the audience understood that, okay, Naughty Dog is the people making these games. And so, I wonder with Naughty Dog if they can do that and get away with it. But then, yeah, is the answer when you look at something like Visual Arts, when you look at people getting laid off at Bend or whatever, is it that, yeah, you give them a Last of Us, you take these IPs that are established and give them to try to let them keep their jobs, or you keep laying these people off? And how do you build new IP?
I think that's the right thing, right? Like, I think you talk about the risk of making a new IP as Naughty Dog when you have Uncharted and you have Last of Us. I think context to bring into that as well is the fact that they were making Last of Us Online. And so as Intergalactic is coming out as a new single-player IP, you had another thing that was the multiplayer version of one of your very popular IPs that was going to be an ongoing revenue generator for you. And so you have that safety cushion there.
Yeah.
I'm with you that Naughty Dog is a brand, and Naughty Dog, I think, with a new IP, most likely you're going to have a success and and you're going to have a sales success. You're going to have something that is going to blow up and be the next talk of the town and all that shit, right? And it's going to be game of the year contender, all that shit. But I do think that you have to look at the IP you have. And honestly, I am on the side of, all right, it's what you said earlier as far as make a Last of Us in a different characters, different region or whatever, and give it to a different studio. I think that's what you have to do. You have to make another single player Last of Us game. You have to make another single player Uncharted game. Doesn't have to be Nathan Drake, right? Doesn't have to be Joel and Ellie. But when you have these studios that are, that are receiving the effects of Concord being a failure and God of War Online, like God of War Online getting canceled in this shit, right? And your only solutions so far are remaster Last of Us, remaster Last of Us Part 2. Ah, shit. Or rather, Last of Us is a remaster. It's like people, you're doing things that almost feel like, I know they're not desperate per se because these are just regular business moves. But it feels like last resorts as far as, hey, we got to do something to get money out of this franchise, and so we're going to remaster these things so we can get to the next game. What happens when you're out of that?
This episode is brought to you by Monster Hunter Now. Whether I'm taking Ben to the playground, soccer practice, or on a hike with Jen, I'm wandering the outdoors more than ever. That's where Monster Hunter Now comes in. It's an authentic Monster Hunter experience on your mobile that lets you find and hunt monsters in the real world using your phone, whether you're out on a walk, commuting, or just need a quick hunting break between your console sessions. And right now, there's no better time to jump in because Monster Hunter Now is running an epic collaboration event with Monster Hunter Wilds, packed with surprises that any Monster Hunter fan won't want to miss. Let's talk about the good stuff. For the first time, a monster from Monster Hunter Wilds has made its way into Monster Hunter Now. Players can also experience the thrill of riding a Sacred from Monster Hunter Wilds with the new layered equipment and so much more. This won't be available once the event ends, so don't miss your chance to get it while you can, and don't you worry about me and that Sacred look. I already unlocked it. But that's not all. By completing event quests, you'll unlock a special gift code that can be redeemed in Monster Hunter Wilds. These rewards will give you an early head start, making sure you're geared up and ready to take on the next big adventure. So if you haven't already, now's the perfect time to download Monster Hunter Now. It's free to play, and trust me, once you start hunting monsters in the real world, you'll be hooked. Go to kindafunny.com/mhnow, jump into the event before it's gone, and I'll see you out there. Remember, that's kindafunny.com/mhnow. Happy hunting. And then you get back to this thing we're talking about, right? Of like the art versus the business of it. And people are always like, I think the layoffs happen, and the conversation from us as the gamers and all this stuff is like, oh man, what does this mean for the people who are trying to get into the games industry? They see this. Are they going to want to do it? Are they going to want to leave? Yada, yada, yada. And I haven't seen in my limited knowledge of talking to the younger generation of game devs when I'm at a DICE and I see like the scholars there, that there's still this passion to come do it, right? No matter how hard it is. And granted, you can think of an indie project, a smaller thing, blah, blah. Where I get concerned to a degree is the business versus the art of it, of I am coming to this studio to make the next great PlayStation IP. I'm coming in and we're starting this new thing, we're gearing it up, and we're going for it, and you work on it for a year and a half or 2 years, it gets killed, and then they come in and say, you got to make Uncharted, whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's where it gets to me. I went to try to find it because I saw it go through there. I'm reading off of Games Radar Plus from way back in the day, but it was the concern when a new report from Bloomberg has supposedly revealed a ton of interesting information about the way Sony is moving forward with production plans for its games, including a look at the potential Last of Us remake. So this is old. Hidden underneath, blah, 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 blah. Sony's prioritization of biggest games and studios has created a ripple effect across the organization. For example, over the last year, Sony's Bend studio, once seen as a rising star, has now been assigned to support Naughty Dog and feared becoming Naughty Dog North. Mm. That's what I think more of. These people going to the studios with these hopes and dreams of making whatever, and then it's like, no, now you just have to make this other thing that isn't your passion, and the audience is looking at you saying it's not your Naughty Dog North, and this, yeah. And I know this is a weird whatever, but it's back to the, if I'm Herman Hulst, yeah, I'm like, fucking make more Last of Us games. What are you trying to make? Yeah. Fuck that shit. Make a Last of Us game.
It's like, how do we get these Marvel licenses to more of our studios?
Yeah,
like Insomniac, you're doing not Iron Man, you're doing Spider-Man, you're doing Wolverine. Cool. Let's fucking get Doctor Strange to the hands of Ben. Let's fucking how do
he rides a motorcycle?
He rides a motorcycle and runs away from a bunch of zombies, right? But I think at the end of the day, it still is a business. It still is the thing of, Like, sure, yes, you got hired. You're working at Bend. It's a dream come true. You want to make the next new big PlayStation IP. Like, you're working at a AAA studio for a gigantic publisher,
Yep.
right? You're working for PlayStation, which is under Sony, which is maybe under another thing, I don't know. But like, you are in the top tier of, hey, we got to make these financial decisions, and a lot of the time that does come down to IP, and I hate it. Like, I'm not saying anything that I like currently.
I don't know. I guess this is the thing, is I feel like that wasn't always
Rider
the
is a good
case.
idea.
I feel like that wasn't always the case, and even now, is it the case? Is it not? But whatever. Like, it wasn't always the case where it did feel like the first parties were making weird shit and doing all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, like, but that was 2 generations ago,
I know,
right? Like, you look at video game budgets.
I'm with you. I understand. I agree.
Video games are just so out of whack right now, and I'm sad I missed the conversation with Matt Piscatella, because like, I guess a question that I would have asked. Maybe you did ask this question. I only listened to half the episode. I'm sorry. I was traveling.
That's fine. No, you're busy.
But I would have asked, is there an equilibrium in all this, right? Do we get back to, hey, you're a gigantic developer, but you can make weird shit?
Huh.
Is that a thing that could happen, Greg?
Oh, that's fine.
Can we get back? Can we make video games great again? JK. Not for real, but
I'm just hitting up Matt.
Greg is typing fervorously. Do you want me to get into the next news story as you're doing this?
No, I mean, I can't. For some reason, I kept fucking up KFGD.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
KGFD.
I'm gonna say, if so, I said, can you dial in for one question on KFG? If so, join the Discord or waiting room. Barrett, you be on it. Looking for him. Matt Piscatella might join us, so if I'm gonna move on, but that's what.
Sorry, Tim and I were talking about Daredevil.
Oh, God, I can't wait for Screen Guys. That fucking opening, you know what I mean? I saw you blue sky about it. That first 15 minutes, come the fuck on. You know what I mean? Then the ending of episode 2. Come on, we're back.
Ending of episode 1 with TV on the radio.
Yeah, I almost skipped volleyball last night because I wanted to watch Daredevil season 4.
Should have shown some dedication. Disney's gonna cancel it because they're like, not if you watch it night reason. 1. And so can they get back to that equilibrium?
You know,
I think but I think there's gonna be a lot of reckoning before we get there, where it's just like you have to get back to, okay, cool, we're not gonna make sequelitis has to be eliminated. The sequels probably have to fail. You got to do all these different things. I don't know.
Because I guess my question, even to take it, to
I
the
want
next
Herman
step,
on the show. Herman, come be on the show.
What does a healthy AAA video game industry look like in 2025? That's my actual question, right? Like, is there a balance of, hey, we're a publisher? Because obviously we have publishers that we praise and stuff. I look at Capcom. I look at Sega right now, which we'll talk about in a second, right? But like, there are publishers that I look at and I'm like, damn, you're doing the damn thing. But those feel fewer and far between. And the question I have is, like, what does a healthy AAA industry look like? Can you have a publisher that is, hey, we have these fucking great franchises, but then we have so many unique, cool things that are experimental and all that shit? Or is that just all up to the indies to do nowadays?
Okay, fair enough. I like that. Matt Piscatella answered the call.
Nintendo is a very good example too, but Nintendo's an anomaly.
Yeah.